Hello, in part 6 on tips on how to play hardcore, I'd like to show you where I like to farm for gold and gear in hell difficulty. So we'll go ahead and change it to hell difficulty. And we'll be going to the third act, third chapter, and that's the Breach Keep. Go ahead and select that and start the game. And the reason why I like the Breach Keep is there's 3 levels to go through. There's plenty of treasure chests and mobs down there. There are plenty of champions and elites. So it's a nice run through and a very easy mini boss at the very end. I'm going to go ahead and select my Enchantress, which has my Magic Find gear on. And we will go ahead and get started. Pick up the quests from Tyrael and head towards the instance door. I think during my run times through here, it's usually under 30 minutes. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to explore all of it before moving on. And sometimes you will get a mob like right when you start, which is a little bit annoying, but if you get overwhelmed, you can just go ahead and run up the stairs. And generally speaking, for mortar mobs, what I find is that since I do have quite a bit of armor and I have a shield, and that's how I build my wizard, is I generally just stay in close and just take the damage, turn on diamond skin whenever it's up, and if I ever get in trouble, I can go ahead and use teleport to get out. Down here, it's definitely very nice to have Hydra as one of your skills, because what you can do is you can go ahead and use your Hydra as like a scout. So before you head down the corridor, you can just pop it out and see if the Hydra starts shooting at something. And it also works for doors, closed doors. As soon as I find one, I can show you. But it's always worth turning over a body. But I find that barrels don't have anything at all. So it's not really worth destroying barrels down here. The mob down here they're pretty simple and basic. There's nothing to worry about. The only ones that you have to worry about are the exploding little mini blobs. I don't know what they're called. But as you can see, there's usually an awful lot of champion packs down here. It's always good to have these corridors completely scouted out so that if you do run across a very hard champion mob, you can kite back through all these corridors. And these corridors actually end up helping you because the NPCs usually slow down as you move through corridors, so it gives you a chance to reform up or put down a Hydra again. There are plenty of treasure chests throughout the entire map, so it's definitely worth going through and opening all of them up and exploring everywhere. I think for from my experience, what you're really looking for in hell level difficulty is for things to sell. It's usually amulets and rings have sold the best for me. Of course, if you find any rare in which it has vitality and a important stat, it's probably going to sell well in the auction house. So as you can see, there's a wooden door here, but I can still cast my Hydra on the other side just to see if there's anything right on the other side. And that's a very useful thing to do with your Hydras. So you can just go ahead and wait for your Hydra to work down some of the enemies, and then wait for them to break down the door, and then you can just shoot right through it. Yep. If you can, you at the very beginning when you first start doing this, it's always nice to leave these health globes up, because if you had to kite back in this direction, eh, you know, you could run across those health globes and get a bit of health. And at this point, you know, since you're collecting Nephilim Valor, the gold drops start, you know, they're pretty sizable at some point. So it's definitely nice to be able to grab gold like that. So let's map out the rest of this. The dungeon size for the keeps, they're fairly large, so it will occupy some time. But they fill the dungeon with quite a lot of mobs, so it's not like you get bored when you're exploring through the whole thing. The only thing that's I find a little annoying is stuff like this, barrels. I've broken plenty of them, and I've never seen anything drop out of them, so they're not really even worth destroying. Generally speaking, I can probably get about 4 Nephilim Valor points on the first level before moving on to the second level. And the second level is about the same size, and I think the third one is slightly smaller. Now, currently for my passives that I'm using Blur, and I'm also using Galvanize, which is the reason why I can soak up so much damage without having to move, because I'm ticking for about 600 life a second returned, and with the amount of armor that I get from my shield and my gear, hell level difficulties usually the damage isn't that bad. Right now, currently, my Enchantress is the only thing, or is the only tune that has Magic Find on it, and it's only about 21%, which isn't isn't a lot. So I'm not really sure how beneficial it is, and I've been thinking about actually moving over to Gold Find as something to try on her. Be careful of Arcane. So it's always good to kite backwards when you see Arcane. But never kite to a spot that you haven't explored yet, obviously, if at all possible. I'm going a different way so that I can leave those health globes up in case I need to come back in that direction and to use those health globes. Oh. Looks like I didn't get all of them yet. These extra fast mobs are actually very hard to deal with in an open area. So I'll go ahead and go down to level 2. I didn't explore all of level 1, but I got most of it. Generally speaking, I like to be able to hold corridors so that I don't get anything in back of me, and I also am able to retreat whenever necessary. Now this one is particularly bad because behind me is only the way up. Sometimes if that happens, you might have to kite around in a circle, which can be very annoying. But if you ever find yourself in which you need to go upstairs, I just recommend going ahead and quitting and starting over, because for you to come back downstairs even though you're at full health and you have all of your skills off cooldown, you know, if you lag there, it's just a bad way to get killed in the hardcore. So if you ever have to run upstairs, just go ahead and quit out. It's a safer method. Now these fallen maniacs, they're the only things that you seriously have to watch out for if you get hit by 2 or 3 of them all at once. The swift skull cleavers, these guys have a lot of health, so you might need to kite backwards a little bit on those. Every once in a while down here, you'll also get a mini quest that you can do, but doesn't look like we're going to get any mini quest on this run through. So once again, you know, try to leave some of these health globes up. If you don't have to use them, they might become useful for you if you have to cut your way back to them. And the Enchantress, you know, as long as you give her some decent gear, she can be very helpful down here. And once you get your full 5 Nephilim Valor buffs, you know, you can see some yellow drops coming out of chests. So definitely explore and try to find as many chests as you can. These demonic tremors, they actually hit pretty hard. So be careful of them if you're first starting out on doing these runs. So my current wand right now is a 600 DPS wand, and I mean that's nowhere near what the top wand is at the auction house. And since it is just a blue and it's not rare, I got it fairly cheap. So just with that wand, I really don't have any problems clearing this place. And really, when you get to level 60, that should be the first item you want to upgrade, is your weapon. Let's see. Don't know why, but there's just nothing that drops out of those barrels. I mean, I guess they're nice to look at. That's about it. These skull swords that drop out of the ceiling, I guess, for some reason they react very slowly. So even though they drop right on top of you, they actually just stand around, don't do anything. So they're actually very easy to take care of. It's just pretty much free kills. And once they start dropping, they just drop all over the place. Although it doesn't happen every time. I think this is an event type thing for those skull swords to drop out of the ceiling, because I don't see them every time. Yeah, in order to really stop these swift skull cleavers, I really do need that Hydra down in order to work down that life that they have. They have a lot of it. Whenever you see these bridges, there's always going to be skeletons that drop out of the top of it. So I always have a Hydra ready to go. These are probably the most annoying mob with the soul shield constantly around him, because pretty much guarantees your arcane orb is pretty useless unless you're right up on them. And he's a waller. So just run there, drop your Hydra down, watch the skeletons drop down. Hardcore. So let's go ahead. Generally speaking, the only things that I keep from these magic find runs are things that have vitality and another important stat. Things that I know are going to sell well at the auction house or that I can use. Although at this point, for my tune, pretty muchly really don't find anything that I can use anymore, with the only exceptions usually being rings and amulets. Yeah, so here's an event, which is a guard telling you that there's an elite mob, And for this particular one, since it's a special door, it's a barricaded door, I can actually just put my Hydra on the other side and just let him take care of the mob. Oh, he actually broke through this time. It's very rare that he actually breaks through the door. Generally speaking, the only things that I keep from these Magic Find runs are things that have vitality and another important stat. Things that I know are going to sell well at the auction house or that I can use. Although at this point, for my tune, pretty muchly really don't find anything that I can use anymore. With the only exceptions usually being rings and amulets. Yeah, so here's an event, which is a guard telling you that there's an elite mob. And for this particular one, since it's a special door, it's a barricaded door, I can actually just put my Hydra on the other side and just let him take care of the mob. Oh, he actually broke through this time. It's very rare that he actually breaks through the door. But even then, by the time he broke through the door, pretty muchly everything is dead. I'll leave a few of those health globes up in case I need to run on back. Pretty sure this is the last corridor before the mini boss. You gotta be careful of those chains. The chains still, they hurt quite a bit. And there we go. This is the end, and the mini boss is right in the layer. And this is one of the main reasons why I like this run is the mini boss is very easy for a caster class. So Hydra down, dump out all your arcane bolts, teleport, get your clones down, put down a new Hydra, and just keep working on the boss. And just go ahead and stay on the outer perimeter. And just remember to put down a new Hydra every single time you get to a corner, and then teleport whenever it's up so that he can go focus on your mimics or my clones, I guess. And there you go. He's down. He usually drops anywhere between 2 to 4 rares and then a bunch of blues. And that's the end of the run. Thank you for watching.